Hello and welcome to our next installment of the webinar series on Flex Forward, dedicated this time to dairy alternatives. Once again, we're at these fantastic facilities at Bingham & Jones. Thank you very much, Johnny, for having us once again here today with you.
You're more than welcome. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. I'm also joined by my dear colleague Danielle Maley. Thank you, Danielle.
Delighted to be here, Natalia. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And also today we will be once again joined by our development chefs from Bingham & Jones, Glyn Yarnell and Aaron Given, who will be demonstrating the latest recipes that our teams have created together. So Johnny, tell us what we are actually cooking today. What are we demonstrating?
Okay, so today we've got three recipes. The first one will be a plant-based mayonnaise, and we'll probably do that into almost a crab salad type thing, but using jackfruit. The second one will be a cheese spread, so like a soft cheese spread, but a plant-based one. And then the third will be a dairy alternative dessert. So using a bit of coconut, maybe a little bit of vanilla. Very nice. Should be good.
It should be, and I'm really excited. I know that these recipes have been we all as a team have been absolutely delighted about that. So let's get started.
So we're here today to talk about our first recipe, which will be our vegan mayonnaise. So I'll pass you over to the team now, who'll talk you through it in more detail.
Thanks, Danielle. Hi, I'm Aaron Given. I'm the Senior Product Developer at Bingham & Jones, and I got with me Glyn.
Hi, I'm Glyn Yarnell, Product Development Chef here at Bingham & Jones.
Glyn, what are you going to be producing for us today?
Today we're making a vegan mayo, and with that mayo we're going to create a crab jackfruit blini.
Sounds amazing. Obviously, you're going to just quickly talk us through the ingredients as well?
So in front of me I have the key ingredients, quite simplistic. We have water, oil to emulsify, which you'd normally use with a mayonnaise. We have our citrus elements, so lemon juice, bit of white wine vinegar and Dijon mustard, seasoning, salt, sugar, and our starches to help thicken and emulsify and give us the viscosity that we require to make the mayo.
Sounds amazing. Obviously, Danielle, starches play a massive role in plant-based and dairy-free alternatives. Obviously, for the UK, we can use things like xanthan gum and other hydrocolloids. Other markets that you guys support, might not be able to use this. So, what alternatives to xanthan gums and that sort of thing do you have, and also what other starches do you have in your catalogue?
So starches are very important because they bind the water and they stop you having some water separation through life, so they're a real stabiliser. And xanthan gum supports the emulsion. Now, if it is clean label, we do have starches to support both of those functionalities. We also have some products like aquafaba, that'll support keeping the emulsion in place, over a shelf life basically. So we would have a lot. So what we would do, we'd work with the teams on their bespoke recipes and give them a solution, whether it's clean label or not.
Oh, brilliant. So it seems like you've got quite a lot of different solutions there, yeah?
We do.
Glyn, obviously there's a process to this. What would be the first kind of key elements to making this?
I think the key start to this is adding the dry ingredients, the water, the citrus, the Dijon mustard and the seasonings.
Brilliant.
To start us off.
So just whilst you're doing that, obviously starches play a massive role in food manufacturing within ready meals, but they're probably quite new to the plant-based world. How are you seeing starches kind of evolving within plant-based and dairy-free alternatives?
So the thing that a starch will do is it'll support texture. So it's water binding, it'll give you the succulence, or it'll give you it just depends what you're using, which starch it is. It'll also support with stability through life. So it really holds the water in, and you want to have a long shelf life, especially with something with the mayonnaise. They're quite a long shelf life product. So as a stabiliser and a thickener, they're essential.
Oh, brilliant. And Glyn, you're about done with the first stage?
Yeah, just the last couple of dry ingredients to go in there. So that's the sugar. Then we have the starch. And
how are you finding from a development chef level, using these starches and products from Univar?
I think it's clever. It's clever. It's clever development. And when you make a fresh mayonnaise, you obviously use fresh egg yolks. Oil. You can enrich it with a little bit of olive oil if you wish as well. But I think just the technical side of the science behind the starches recreating that emulsion is very, very clever. So it's a learning curve. It's a massive learning curve.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we found at Bingham & Jones that these starches create a lot more control for plant-based products. Especially personally from my use in the kitchen. Brilliant, Glyn. So you're going to get through to the noisy stage now.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the stage where, yeah, it does make a little bit of noise.
Brilliant. So we'll just cut away to let you crack on with that.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, so we have the dry ingredients in there now, the water, the seasonings, the citrus and the Dijon mustard. We're now going to turn on the machine and just to number 4. And then we'll gradually, as you would do with a emulsion, making a normal mayonnaise, you'll gradually slowly add the sunflower oil.
So this you're putting in now, this is another type of starch.
Another starch which you kind of slurry with about 1/3 of the sunflower oil, just to help it kind of disperse, and it almost creates like a little paste.
Great.
Just so it doesn't go lumpy.
And this is something else which is helping with the kind of emulsion and the stabilisation of the mayonnaise.
Absolutely, yes. It's creating that kind of thick
Brilliant.
viscosity. Okay, so once that's mixed, we're going to slowly, very slowly, gradually add the sunflower oil, because with any emulsion, it can split. So the idea is just to go very, very steady. So this is quite a long, tedious job. You need to have a steady hand. I'll just turn up the dial slightly. Okay. So slightly, you can hear the sound changing as it thickens as well. Okay. Just let that run for a few seconds, just to bind.
Right, Glyn, so you're done with that now?
Absolutely, yeah. The noisy part's finished. So I'll just take the lid off the Thermomix, and we can take a look inside and see what you guys think. So, yeah, as you can see, from a viscosity perspective, you've got a lovely thick emulsion, as you'd associate with a real mayo. You've got a lovely glossy texture as well. So it
looks brilliant.
It looks real,
Yeah,
like a
it
real
looks
mayo.
really good, yeah.
And it does taste fantastic.
So you said you were going to turn this into something fantastic for us today.
Yeah, so with this mayo, I'm going to take it over here, and we're going to make our little jackfruit crab blini. So what we have, the ingredients are in front of me here. So we have our pulled jackfruit, which kind of looks like crab. We have some chopped fresh chilli. We have a little bit of seaweed just to finish off the top, just to sprinkle, give it that kind of taste of the sea. Some spring onions, a little bit of coriander, and some radishes just to garnish the top, and a bit of fresh lemon juice.
So Danielle, obviously Glyn mentioned seaweed, and obviously it's a really functional, interesting ingredient with some really important health claims. Can you talk to us a bit more about that?
So seaweed is a very nutritious product. It's really high in a lot of the key minerals, but the one I want to talk to you about today is the natural source of iodine that it gives us. We know that plant-based vegan diets and vegans themselves can be deficient in iodine because it comes from fish, meat products. So what seaweed gives is that it supplements, so we can have health claims, but also there's a really nice sustainability story behind it as well. So not from a nutritional fortification point of view, but the sustainability aspect of it as well is really, really interesting.
Oh, brilliant. And obviously, Glyn, for this, using the seaweed, I'm guessing it just helps that sort of...
It does. Gives you the taste of the sea a little bit more, as you'd associate, when you have crab, it's got that kind of essence of the sea. It works really well.
Brilliant, and it looks amazing. Just one quick more point. Obviously, starches. We were talking a lot about starches for this product. Do you find that in terms of sort of viscosity and emulsions, they are as important as sort of protein powders and isolates?
I would say they have a different functionality, although they both bring a bit of that. I think starch is there for viscosity. It really binds out water, whereas we would introduce our pulse proteins as more of an emulsification ingredient to lock in that emulsion. So starches really give you the water binding capacity through life.
Yeah.
And then proteins, if you use your isolate, you're going to have a health claim there.
Obviously,
so you've got your protein health claim, but just to really lock in the emulsion as well. So they're quite similar in the gelation, but they've got different functionality within the product as well.
Oh, brilliant. So Glyn, that looks fantastic.
Yeah, so this is the final it's almost like a little snacking party food idea. So, but yeah, this is your jackfruit mayo blini.
I'd love to try one of those.
Absolutely.
Can pass one of those over to her. That looks amazing. Looks
So
fantastic.
nice.
Yeah,
Absolutely
so
fabulous.
good. I'm going to try and not get it all over me, but I'm going to be the gentleman and give you the plate.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think what's instant about that is that the mayonnaise, you couldn't say that's out of place as not being or being a plant-based one. You could quite clearly sort of see that as.
It's a great product. It does work really well.
I like the opacity of that as well. Sometimes you can lose that whenever you're looking at plant-based.
You've got the right acidity level as well, so you don't have to really add too much lemon juice to that.
Yeah, and the seaweed adding that little sort of fishy note to it as well, it kind of just has those peaks. Glyn, it's fantastic. Thank you very much.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Delicious.
So Glyn, what have you got for us next?
Next up is our plant-based cream cheese spread, and with that we're going to make a little, again like a little almost party food, little savoury bite. So a little wafer thin biscuit which has got super seeds in there, a little bit of dried fruit, and then just pipe the spread on top with a little garnish on top, which I'll show you later when we come to assemble it.
Sounds amazing. What are the key ingredients for this one then?
So the key ingredients are here in front of me. So we have water, a coconut butter, citrus, so a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of sweetness, so we have a little brown sugar syrup, and we have two isolates, so we have a bean and a pea isolate, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of setting agent as well.
So Glyn, just as you're going to be making it up quickly, what's the process for this one?
So basically all the key ingredients, it's quite quick and simple this one, so everything goes into the Thermomix, so all the ingredients go all in as one. And then we heat process this particular mix, so we take it to 60 degrees, we mix for 5 minutes, and then switch it to 75 degrees for about a minute. But that's continuously mixing and heating up through, so it pasteurises almost as well at the same time.
Brilliant. So just as you're doing that, obviously you mentioned that there are 2 different proteins in this. Danielle, obviously we understand that you have many plant proteins in your sort of portfolio.
Yeah.
Are there some that are better suited for sort of plant-based cheese alternatives?
Well, we would like something that's really light in flavour, because and also light in colour as well, just because of the nature of the dairy alternative. We're seeing a lot of people swaying towards more of a pea protein, just because of the flavour there. And then we also have some deflavoured options as well within our portfolio. So they just remove the pulse note that's associated with those kind of products like faba bean or pea. And they're very functional as well. So we have a flour, and we also have the concentrates and isolates.
Yeah.
So the flour would be there to give mouthfeel and obviously some functionality, but the emulsification aspect, as I had mentioned previously, comes from the isolates.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you mentioned there about deflavoured, and obviously, there are options which could potentially give a better texture, but do have a bit of flavour there.
Yeah.
Do you guys have options to help mask that?
Yeah, so within our flavour ranges, we have some masking technology that can just take that away. So if there is a note coming through and they can't be masked by flavour alone, we have some masking technology which can take those pulse notes or those protein notes away, that bitterness almost. Yeah, we have that to support.
That sounds great. And just before you start making all the noise again, obviously, you've been working with these plant proteins quite a lot, Glyn. Are you finding that they're kind of helping to create that texture that you get from a...
Absolutely. Again, it's about the viscosity, about the texture. So both of those, the P and B isolate, they do give you that kind of, that thickness, that spreadable kind of viscosity that you want from a soft cheese. So I think they work really well. Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
So just got you talk us through just before you do that.
So everything is in the Thermomix.
Great.
So we're going to switch that on to probably number 6. Let that mix first, and then we'll apply heat. 65 degrees.
Great, we'll come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
So Glyn, obviously this is all done now. Could you quickly talk us through what's happened?
Yeah, so it's finished its heat cycle. So we've placed all the ingredients inside in the Thermomix. We've heated it to 65 degrees and blended it for 5 minutes, and then we've lifted the temperature to 75 degrees for about a minute. I'll just take the lid off and show you now how it looks. So we have our mix, which is obviously still hot. It's got a lovely silky kind of viscosity, silky and smooth. And then we'll pour this into a tub just to show you how that looks.
Wow, it looks great.
So as you can see, it's silky smooth. It's got a nice gloss to it, and obviously that will set as it chills. Okay.
Brilliant. So just as you're sort of getting set up for the next bit, Glyn, just quickly run us through what you're going to be doing with it.
So basically we're going to make a little savoury, almost thin biscuit, which has got super seeds in there, a little bit of dried fruit like goji berries, and then I'm going to pipe, now it's chilled, I'm going to pipe the cream cheese spread on top, finish it with caramelised rosebud beetroot, a little bit of chia seed and just a little bit of leaf. So it's almost like a little party food sort of snacking idea.
That sounds amazing. Just as you're doing that, Glyn, Danielle, obviously health, is a massive driver at the moment, especially when it comes to people choosing to go plant-based. What other ingredients do we not have in this formulation that you potentially have in your catalogue that could obviously be added to this to enhance health claims?
So I suppose the key one would be calcium. We have some of our citrates and our phosphates that can give you a calcium health claim, and it can be added quite easily to the recipe as well. We've got vitamin D, vitamin B12, whatever you actually need, we can fortify. But aside from that as well, we can improve the health and get some health claims by maybe looking at the protein level. So you get a protein health claim. We can also reduce fat as well, by using some of our starch products. And then you've got the option of reducing sugar. So we can fortify, but we can also play around with what we have as well, to reduce.
That's great. And obviously you talked about sort of reducing sugar.
Yeah.
You guys can help with the formulation, supporting customers with formulation recipes?
Yeah, so we support with concept to launch if that's what the customer needs. And if that involves some recipe development, then we'll be there to help them.
And you can obviously, with this, you're talking about adding in, calcium, adding in vitamin D, and that, these are all things, vitamin B12, these are all things that people who go plant-based, they kind of miss from, obviously eating a meat and dairy-based diet. You almost have a bit more control, over the end product and sort of tailoring it to specific needs.
Absolutely, because if it's not naturally occurring there, we can formulate it, to hit a specific target to get that health claim. So it's easier for us to control whenever we are formulating. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, that's brilliant. Glyn, that looks amazing. Quickly talk us through what you've done there.
So we have our savoury seeded biscuit with goji berries through there. We have our silky smooth piped plant-based spread cheese, and then some caramelised rosebud beetroots with a little bit of chia seed and just a little bit of leaf. So very simple, kind of snacking, kind of party food idea.
That sounds great. And obviously, you mentioned that this one would obviously sort of set up in a tub like a cream cheese would do as well.
Absolutely.
And you've got one in a tub that you can kind of show.
There's one I've got here made earlier. If I just take the lid off, as you can see, it sets and looks just like a soft cheese spread. And then if I just...
Oh wow, yeah, that looks
perfect.
Looks great, doesn't it?
And obviously that's straight out the fridge, but also when you leave it out slightly, it starts to soften even more. So you get that lovely silky smooth texture.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Delicious.
I'm going to be greedy again and request a sample, please.
Absolutely, chef. I'll pass those over to you.
Another
Sounds
messy
amazing.
one.
Yeah, I know.
We'll share this time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so you've got the textures there, the softness of the cheese, and you've got the crispiness of the biscuit, and then just a little bit of sweetness and sourness and saltiness from the rosebud beetroot.
The creaminess there is
Absolutely,
and that lactic note as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive.
It's
delicious.
almost so comparable to sort of a soft cheese spread that you'd get normally. Glyn, thank you very much. It's amazing. Thank you.
It's a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Glyn, what you got for us now?
Okay, next up is a creamy kind of coconutty dessert. So it's a base for many things. Today we're going to show it as a kind of brunch idea. So it's going to be set in a glass, almost like a panna cotta setting point. Topped with some fruit compote, so berries and a little bit of coulis on there, because they're quite classic but brunchy. And then a kind of granola topping. Nice and crispy, simple.
Sounds amazing. What are the key ingredients for this one?
So the key ingredients are coconut milk, so ideally 19% fat. We have a little bit of sugar, a little bit of vanilla essence or vanilla paste, starches, obviously to help the viscosity, and a setting ingredient as well, and a flavouring, just to finish it off.
Great, and I know that we've been playing around a bit of a sort of flavour reducer in this one. Danielle, what sort of demand have you had from customers in terms of reducing sugar, reducing or even removing sugar from dairy-free or desserts?
Well, in general, there's a big trend to reduce sugar and just nutritionally optimise products, and that's been going on for many years. But we are seeing a lot of people now, especially with HFSS coming in this year, looking to take out all the added sugar. In dairy-free, it's a little bit more difficult. There's some restrictions around the products that you can use, but that's not to say that we don't have stuff in our portfolio to support that. So today we're using a natural flavouring, which enhances the sweetness perception and allows you to reduce the sugar. But we also have some products like inulins and fructooligosaccharides as well that you could put in there, have a fibre claim, and also deliver some sweetness. So we have a lot to play around with.
No, sounds great. Obviously, we have been talking about this as like a base. And I know that we haven't got any flavours in here per se at this stage, but obviously I know that in the kitchen bin we've been messing about with this as a base. What other things could you do with this?
Yeah, well, we've been aerating it with a spuma gun, so you can get that almost like a souffle effect, so it's moussey on a plate, so it's light in texture. You could freeze it as well, so to almost granita almost, or an ice cream. You could make an ice cream from that. So yeah, it's got many applications. It's just the world's your oyster, really.
So just talk us through the process for this one.
Okay, so this one we're going to add literally again everything into the Thermomix. We're going to heat it to 65 degrees and let that run for about a minute or two till it reaches temperature, and then remove and pour into a glass for it to set.
Perfect, brilliant. Okay, well, take us through it.
I'll carry on. Yeah. So basically everything goes in all at once. So the coconut. Sugar. Now a little bit of vanilla paste as well. And then our sugar reduction. Starches. Okay, so all that's in there. So obviously it's going to make a little bit of noise, and we'll leave that on for about 2 minutes at about 60 degrees.
Great, see you in a minute.
No problem.
So Glenn, this is obviously now finished. Do you mind just recapping on the process quickly?
Absolutely, yeah. So everything obviously, as before, went all into the Thermomix all at once. We heated it up to 60-65 degrees, and it's been mixing for about, I'd say 2 to 3 minutes. Let's take the lid off and show you how it looks. So as you can see, it's really liquid at the moment, obviously because it's hot and it's reached temperature. But when that's poured into the glass, which I have here, it will set once it's chilled, and you'll get that sort of panna cotta, almost mousse-like texture. So if I show you how that looks when you pour it.
Oh, that's great. That's very velvety, doesn't it?
So it's velvety, it's silky, and obviously when that chills, it'll firm up because of the setting agent that's in there. Okay, so that's it in its glass.
Brilliant.
Okay, then moving over to the assembly. So here are ones I made earlier. As you can see, it's set pretty nicely, and it's quite a soft set. So when you spoon into that, it'll just kind of just be a moussey style texture. And what we're going to do with this is make it into almost like a brunch idea. So you have the softness texture of the coconut cream, and then the fruit compote, which is just literally kind of almost classic. Fresh berries, a little bit of strawberry coulis just on top on both of those. Okay. And then just finish off with a little bit of the granola. So again, you can do many things, as we alluded to earlier. So you can make, ice cream. You can make this more of a set mousse in a terrine.
Oh, that looks amazing, mate.
Okay.
That's really, really good. And I know, Danielle, obviously we touched on flavour before. Obviously, this is quite a blank canvas. From your engagement with customers, what sort of, how important is it to get flavour right for them?
It's really, really important because they won't accept anything that doesn't stand up, to the dairy ice cream, to the dairy desserts. So adding in even just a vegan cream flavour, a vegan, not so much in this one, but like a butter, flavour, it really, the innovation's moved on a lot. But what I will say, with something like this, the fruit flavours that we supply as well, they would be really, really suitable, and they would be natural as well. So yeah, as I said, consumers, they want more now from dairy free. So flavour is really, really important.
And from obviously our engagement with Univar, understanding how to use flavours, and obviously most recently, sometimes you'd have just one flavour, and that would go in there like a panna cotta type flavour.
Yeah.
But actually, what we're doing is layering flavours.
Absolutely.
So you're using a cream, using a butter, using a fruit, and all in the same product. Glyn, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
My mouth's watering.
Again, would you like to try?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, please.
I'll pass these over to you guys. Ladies first.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay. There's one for you, Aaron.
Brilliant, thank you very much. That's great. That's a really soft set sort of panna cotta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice to have those textures. So you've got a little bit of crunch, you've got the softness, the moussiness, and then you got the fruitiness of the fresh fruit. Again, it's a simple one, isn't it?
It's very, very smooth.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know any
that's lovely.
difference.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Glyn. Glyn, thank you again for this. It was amazing. Thank you.
Absolute
What a
pleasure.
treat. Thank
yeah,
you,
no,
Glenn.
thank you guys. Cheers.
Thanks.
Today we're discussing plant-based dairy. Let's start with a few stats. The market for plant-based milk is predicted to see 75% growth by 2026 compared just to last year, with more than 11% compound annual growth, which we would all agree, phenomenal increase, isn't
Phenomenal.
it? Yes, what would you guys say are the key factors driving purchasing decisions in this market?
I'll go first, Johnny. So for me, anyway, aside from the health benefits of switching from dairy to a more lower fat option, taste, texture and appearance are so key. You know, consumers, including myself, I would consider myself to be a flexitarian now. I won't accept anything that doesn't taste really good, look good, and look like the dairy equivalent, if not better.
I think also for me that pressure from other people within the household. It's very easy to say everybody's going to go on to plant-based milk or plant-based dairy, this, that, the other. The reality is that that's generally driven by one person in the household, and anybody who's seen Game Changers or something like that will be driving that decision, and that in turn then drives the shopping decision of whoever is the chief shopper in the household.
Indeed, yes. And the plant-based dairy is becoming really a staple of our diets these days, isn't it?
I think it is, because it's a very easy switch out. If you look at going vegan, it can be quite a daunting thing, but actually plant-based milk is a really easy switch out. Plant-based milks are fantastic. We've got 3 or 4 in our fridge all the time. All the kids in the house and myself and my wife, we all use it. We've got cow's milk as well, so it's not totally out, but it's certainly out in the main.
Sure. Which variety are you using, Johnny?
Oat milk is that's my staple. That's what I like best.
Yeah.
I love it in my coffee. I love it in my tea, on my cereals. I think I think it actually adds the mouthfeel of it is actually, for me, better than cow's milk.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I love that flavour, and now for coffee I take oat milk all the time, where before I just danced with it, but now it's become a staple for me as well. So I think I am one of those people. I am fueling those stats, so I think that we're going to see that just going year on year.
Yeah. And that's brilliant, because I myself as well, a coffee drinker, I do need a bit of splash of milk in there. What would I be looking for is for that creaminess, like a barista type milk qualities that I need to add.
Yeah.
But talking about other formats, other products, whether it's a creamy yogurt, for example, or the cream cheese, it does have to have that mouthfeel, the bite, which is very similar to the traditional variety. Would you agree, Danielle?
That's what they're benchmarking against. They'll benchmark against alternatives in the market, but to drive it forward, they're going to always benchmark against the dairy equivalent. So they want to be like that or better, So that's whenever people like myself will start to move over, whenever there's not a big gap in the difference in quality. The overall end quality has to be perfect.
I can remember when soy milk first came onto the market, and it really was. I mean, I found it unpalatable, really. It wasn't anything that was remotely exciting. But now, with, you've got to say, Oatly and those kind of companies, the way they market, the way that they show you their product is phenomenal, and it's compelling.
Yes, and to see now that huge variety on supermarket shelves, of course it would still depend on which country we're looking at. For example, yes, the UK, I would say that we're quite advanced in this regard in dairy-free, but all the other countries are catching up, and this is something that our colleagues will discuss on later on today. But yeah, in terms of showcasing today, just 3 of the hand-picked recipes that we have showcased. Danielle, why did you decide to focus on these 3 that we spoke about today?
I suppose they're nice to showcase those kind of recipes because we're asked about those all the time. You know, today the guys from Bingham & Jones supported us with really, really brilliant base recipes. You know, so the likes of a mayonnaise, we're seeing that really taken off the last maybe 2 years, and that could be from just people who produce normal mayonnaises or condiment or the kind of sauce producers. They have really expanded their range, and that could be branded products, that could be retailer own label. So that's why we wanted to cover mayonnaise, because sometimes it doesn't always taste great. So we got the guys here to work with us to really push the flavour on, and I think everybody who tries that recipe will be really delighted with it, as we are. The sweet dessert, we wanted to look at that because it's a base recipe for. We could turn that into a fermented yogurt. You know, we could add some vegan cultures in there, process it a different way, you know, add some flavours in there. We could do so much with that. But frozen desserts as well, you know, vegan ice cream's massive trend as well. So it was just really trying to cover everything. And then the soft cream cheese, you know, some of the biggest brands I don't even need to mention, you know, that's why I wanted to just really, really push that forward as well. And you could see whenever Glenn was showing it, you know, there was no real difference in texture and appearance than the dairy equivalent as well. Add some flavours to that and you could have a diverse range, you know, so that's why we focused on those ones.
And I think that is the key thing, isn't it? That actually anything that is a close approximation to anything that is plant-based is probably not good enough. It needs to be something that is, that you know, to really pull people over to that movement, it's got to be something that is sort of, you know, there's no definition, there's no difference. And if you've got a mayonnaise that tastes exactly like a mayonnaise, then it's a very simple switch.
Yeah. Let's talk then a little bit about the healthy options through the plant-based diets. For example, the fat, sugar, salt reduction.
Yeah.
We have developed the recipes like that, Danielle?
Yeah, so the good thing about these kind of recipes, we're using our plant-based proteins as the base. So already there you're having some protein fortification, especially if you're using your isolates. And then, you know, we have all the tools within our portfolio then to fortify that even more. You know, get your health claims for your minerals, your vitamins and all that kind of thing. And also, you know, you have the ability there to manage the fats with our starches. You know, I've mentioned this all before. You know, so it is quite easy to use our portfolio to give that and really support that health claim, you know, when it comes to the vegan dairy.
Yeah.
I think, but I was going to say that actually the fortification bit is almost as important. You know, the consumer has to think that if I'm going to eat this, 1, it's sustainable. 2, it's you know, it's not damaging the planet in the same way. 3, it's tasting absolutely delicious. Before it still does me good in some way, because if that bit doesn't kind of fit, then that doesn't work. And that's where you see, and you're starting to see now, the push for a clean deck, you know, to try and take the nasties out of that product. And actually with your building blocks that we've seen here today, that really gives the opportunity for people to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did you feel when we came to you with this brief? Let's have a look at these 3 recipes and, you know, start expanding even wider. Get ideas going.
We're working in plant-based at Bingham & Jones anyway quite a lot. So for us, it's a relatively simple transition into creating these recipes. But certainly for a lot of factories and for a lot of businesses, it's a very daunting thing to even undertake. I think what we've shown here today is that actually it's a very simple transition for factories to be able to produce this kind of food.
Yeah. When you think back to the briefs that you do receive, what would be the maybe key 3 factors that your clients are looking for? Is it the price? Is it the visual appeal? Is it texture? Is it the multitude of all of them?
I think at the moment, when you look at the landscape for plant-based, if you go into the retailer, I think we kind of touched on it earlier a little bit, but within retail, there's been so many SKUs that have been launched in the last 4 or 5 years. A lot of those have been very, very poor. But actually the retailers have just clawed to get as much as they can to fill the fixtures. Then they've realised that actually half of them aren't selling at all, so they've had to have massive SKU reductions. So what is coming in now has to be something that is very, very good. If you're going to have a sausage, it's got to be just like another sausage, not a pap that is in the mouth that actually we've all tasted. These have got to think about every element of a sausage, whether that's the gristle, whether that's the meat, the firm meat, whether that's the skin, you know, where the flavour pockets are, where the fat pockets are. And if you can't do that, then don't get involved, because that is really where it is key. It has to be an exact replica, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just to add to that, like when you do have something that's really good, and we're seeing these kind of brands really pushing through now and really coming with great products, you'll pay more for that.
Oh,
you know,
definitely.
there's a premium side to it. You don't compare those sausages with or a cheese with a dairy alternative. You don't even look at the prices. You know, you'll just pay more because it just really hits the spot. You know.
Yeah.
But do you think that the price point would change? Let's think from now, let's say in 3 years, 5 years time, which way do you think the innovation will be going? Which then showing the choice on the market shelf?
It depends if it's branded or if it's own label, I suppose. There's always going to be a focus on price. You know, we can't have something that people can afford, but I suppose the premium aspect will always probably be there, you know. I think it would be different between own label and branded products as well. I think we always pay more for a good brand. So yeah, I think there might be more of a push towards it, but right now it's just all about getting the organoleptics right rather than anything else.
What I do feel within this space is that it is brands that will be innovating the space.
Yeah.
You know, they will be pushing the own label alternatives, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with you there totally.
Yeah. Which would you say are the biggest barriers at the moment for manufacturers to really expand and grab all the opportunities? When we're talking about, let's say, the consumer perhaps lack of awareness, what's available in the market, what the taste is like. So it's back to that, perhaps some negative experience of tasting some plant-based dairy a few years ago. What would you say, how far have we come as an industry?
I think that we've come a very, very long way, and I think there are some fantastic products that are out there. I still think there's some dross, but in reality, I think that the things that are holding it back at the moment are the fact that probably the retailers' reluctance, I think, to really push that category, because at the moment it is still growing itself. So it's, you know, whereas within a retailer, you know that, you know, milks are doing fantastic. They're going to be selling a lot of milk. They're not going to be selling as much plant-based milk, but it is a growing fixture, and all of the plant-based is growing. It's just that actually that requires a bit of time, a bit of patience, and that's what for me, that's where they need to be investing a bit of time and patience.
And one thing I will add as well, there's like the reputation, you know, people might have tried it once 3 years ago, for example, vegan cheese. It's got a really bad name for itself, vegan cheese, but that's really pushed on as well.
Yeah.
You know, the starches, the proteins that we have available, the cheese flavour specifically, you know, we have vegan cheddars, you know, you can add that in. You know, we're really in a great place, you know, so people who've tried it 2 years ago, you know, don't give up on it, you know, keep sticking at it, you know, and I think even 2 years from now, we're going to be looking at something completely different as well.
I think that's massively key as well. Yeah. You know, just when you look at, especially, you know, within dairy, just, you know, how it's come on in the last year, 2 years is massive. It's a country mile. And even within sort of egg alternatives and things like that, you know, there are now so many different options that are out there that are actually very easy for people to switch into.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic to see how engaged and motivated and passionate you both are about this about the plant-based products as such.
It's
so we shall not stop here. As we're gonna come back and discuss in a bit more details the oat-based milks and beverages and the dairy-free, the meat alternatives, as well as the healthy eating. So what I would say to our visitors, our viewers today, watch this space, and thank you for being with us over this series.
So today we talked you through some of the dairy-free developments that can be used from our prototype kit. I also wanted to introduce you to our next webinar, which will be March 2022. It will be solely focused on oat beverages, and it will be talking about using our enzyme solution to deliver not only the desired viscosity, but also the sweetness. We've developed 3 different types of oat milk: low, medium and high sweetness. And what we'll do is we'll go into detail about process and how to use our enzymes. If you're interested in this, please reach out to the account managers or technical sales managers in your region, and we'll be happy to sign you up.